Hey, Shaman Hawk here for Shamanic Lodge. So I was asked to give some my thoughts on the relationship thing, and there's been all kinds of podcasts and different discussions online, about what these women want. These boss babes, these badass babes, and queens, and so on. And then there's that other side where the women are like, well, where's the real men? Well, but yet they can't really define one. Or if they say a man of traditional value, but yet that man of traditional values is not going to tolerate the stuff that they want to do as the alleged modern woman. And so, and then there's that MGTOW, the MGTOW, where men going their own way, where they're just like, okay, this is just a hassle. I just don't want to deal with this. And these are the guys that are often, for if they want any kind of attention, they kind of do the numbers. And this is where women don't really get. Men are real flatline thinkers. It's sequencing, it's logic and application. Whereas a lot of time women are kind of very emotional. And that's just the way we are as genders, and which I believe there's two. So with the MGTOWs, I mean, these guys going their own way. They do the numbers and they go, well, if I get with a woman, then it's a lot of money out for the entertaining, the baiting, the wooing, courtship, and thing like that, and then maybe get nowhere with it. And so she's going off after the guy with a nice car, big bank account, taller, more fit or whatever. And that's her choice, okay? But you should I think, guys, before you go out and spend any money on dates or doing these things, find out what she's really into and see if you really fit that list. And be honest with yourself, look at what you want. Are you that type of guy? You got to be honest with yourself. So with the girls, particularly getting on here talking about the status and all that, and the reality of, do these guys really exist, is kind of like slim. So we come up with some things we hear on common podcasts, like 20% of the women are sleeping with 80% of, or 20% of the men are sleeping with 80% of the women, because these girls are hoping that they could be, that special hookup and maybe get that guy's relationship. But the fact is, the way that men are traditionally thinking, if you want to go back into that, the girl that's had a lot of guys is just not one that he wants to take home to mom, kind of thing. Now, there's a lot of exceptions depending on the maturity, the growth of the people involved, and so on. On these MGTOWs, going back to that, these guys figure out they'll have a lot better time, which usually means a lot less stress equals a lot better time, if they just spend their money going fishing, hunting, doing things that they like to do, traveling by themselves, and just having a good time, instead of all the stress that comes along with towing somebody that doesn't really want to do the things you want to do, but wants you to do the things that they want to do. And as men get older, men want more peace. And that's the truth of it. So males don't really start thinking like men until about 25. And that starts to really slack off, and to settle in until they're about 40. The peak, it's been said through different surveys, the peak of women's attractiveness usually from about 20 to 24. Men, luckily enough, have it up to, they become sexually desired by women up to like age 50, they kind of peak out. And I can tell you at 64, I was surprised at how many younger women were coming after me, even when I was just turning 60. Of course, the scamdemic, pandemic slowed a lot of that down. And these were educated women, academics, that are half my age. I'm like, sure. And especially out of the United States, a lot less problems, a lot less games and so on. So I can really understand why a lot of guys, the passport bros, are heading out. When we start looking at, the other parts of relationships, the system is set up to where it's financially beneficial for women to leave the marriage. So the guys are looking at the marriage, and then all of a sudden, and like 80% of divorces are initiated by women, and then the guy's paying for this afterwards. So he's paying for her to live with somebody else. He's paying for his kids to be with somebody else, and usually he has to pay too much time into having two jobs, two sources of income to be able to support her leaving him. And so many younger guys will look at older guys and what they got into and see such a huge, it's like a pandemic of guys that are being financially tapped out, through the court system. And it's like, I don't want to be a part of that. And so, like, there's guys that I work with on the farm here that have told me they watch guys my age and listen to our stories and like, no, forget the marriage, forget. And I've always told these young guys too, like, one of the first things you need to do when you're out into the single scene is get a vasectomy. Don't trust the birth control. Don't trust anything, you have to at least get yourself off about 20 times or so to make sure that you're only shooting blanks, have it checked on or whatever. But because once you have no, as a man, you have no say on if she gets pregnant. If she tells you not to go release inside of her and you do, okay, that was your choice. But if the girl's like, oh, well, it's his responsibility to wrap it up. Well, you're the one choosing to sit on it or ride it, take it unwrapped. So there's a lot of truisms that are going out there with girls have the control over access of sex, but men have the control of access into relationships. And guys have sex with who they can. Women have sex with who they want. So I mean, realistically, if a girl goes outside and says, "Hey, I'm looking for sex," she'll get a lot of ambitious responses. If a guy does that, they're like, "Oh, you weirdo," So I totally understand why guys are becoming these passport bros. Because when they come back, they hear stories like from me saying, "Oh no, completely different setup," and it varies through different countries. And I would really recommend Eastern Europe. And it's not that the guys are hoping to bring these girls back, because a lot of women, then they come back here, well, it's nice to go to the States, but yeah, I'm looking forward to going home, because they have security there, they have tradition, they have family, they have personal value. There's a lot of things that, unless you've been out of the United States, you just wouldn't know. And unfortunately, Americans are not the most traveled people in the world like we used to be. Like when I was getting out of high school, it was like, get your passport and get out for a while. You can do college later. You can do college anytime. You get into a lot of student debt, you start having to work, time passes quickly. Go out and live so I'm telling all you young guys in particular, go out and see the world. Get a different perspective on things. You might find another country you want to live in because it just suits you more than it does. I mean, the United States is my home. I love my country. I love my culture. But there's been times that I felt a lot more at home in different places in other countries. And, you just got to listen to your heart on these things. For you women, you need to get some reality checks. When you ask, 90% of the women you ask, are you from a scale of 1 to 10? What do you think you are? Oh, I'm a 9, I'm a 10. No, maybe in your eyes, I'm happy you feel so highly of yourself. I do. I mean, it's good. You should feel good about yourself, but let's do things in a realistic way. When I was back in my 20s, early 30s, I could have called myself an 8 or a 9. Right now, I'm like, I'm pushing a 5. You got to be real with yourself on these things. And listen, ask questions and listen to people that you're interested in. First date out at a loud bar where you have to scream to talk to somebody, or first date, you go to a movie and you're both just sitting there looking at a screen. No. But yes, some of the women are like, oh, first date, you want to take me to a coffee shop. Oh, and talk to you, get to know you as a person. Oh, imagine that. No, he should just take you out for a month, to places where you can barely talk, and just have him spend a lot of money on it. You profile check your phone. No. If you're looking for that traditional person, here, you could look around a gym sometime. Somebody does their sets and then goes and picks up their phone. Okay? People lost the desire to be entertained by their own thoughts. Watch personal habits. Look at personal space. That'll tell you a lot about somebody, I'll leave it there for now. You know, if you guys have any questions about things, anything in particular I can make a comment on, because here's the truth about humanity. Relationships, I think everything in life is some kind of relationship. And sexuality, intimacy is a huge part of humanity. And for whatever reasons, we want the sexuality, whether it's intimacy, whether it's contact, whether it's just being basic biological needs, we have to be honest with that too. Probably the biggest thing that anybody can do before they start looking for a relationship is really having a good relationship with themselves. And the first part of that is being honest with yourself about who you are. Rate yourself critically, honestly, and get a clear picture on who you are, because that's who you have to offer into the relationship. If you're not clear on that, you're not clear on what you can offer, and it's really unfair to ask something of the other person if you're really not clear of what you are, who you are, and what you're offering. Catch you guys later.